Hi everyone, thank you for joining me for another Vast Charter School vlog post. Today's topic is going to be the 5 questions to ask when choosing the right school for your child. Your child's education is one of the most important things that's going to help them lead a successful life. That's why it's so important to make the right choice for your child when it comes to where they're going to get their education from. There are quite a few options to choose from. There's public schools and private schools and virtual schools. Those are a few that you might have heard of. Then there are some that are a little less common in our everyday language, like charter schools and magnet schools. And within those categories, there's even more categories like religious private schools or STEM-based charter schools. With all these options, how do you know where to start? Well, these 5 questions will help lead you to a good answer. Question 1. Do you want your child at home with you? There could be lots of different reasons why you want your child to be learning at home with you, whether it's COVID related or not. So if your answer is yes to this question, you might want to consider homeschooling your child. Though it's really going to depend about what you want for your child. Do you not want them to go to school, the normal public schools or private schools, because you don't want them learning that specific curriculum that those schools teach and you want to teach them your own way? Then homeschool for sure is the right option. If there's another reason why you want to keep your kids at home, there are plenty of virtual school options that allow your child to still be at home and learn from home, but you are given the curriculum and oftentimes the instruction for your child. So you are not necessarily your child's teacher, but your child still gets to be at home. So those are 2 options that might work for you if you answered yes to that question, if you want your child to stay home with you. Question 2. Would you like religion to be part of your child's education, and a key part, not just something they do during Sunday school or Kiwanis on Wednesdays? If you answer yes to this question, then you might want to consider homeschooling your child or going to a religious private school. At homeschool, you get to decide what your child is going to learn about and how they're going to learn about, so you can incorporate religion as much as you would like. Religious private schools, that's what they specialize in, is incorporating religion into the curriculum, so that might be a good choice for you. Public schools are bound by law to keep religion separate from the state. And because public schools are part of the state, you can't really teach much about religion except about, oh, here are all the different types and these are the key features of these religions and how they have played a role in history, but they can't specifically preach to the children about a specific religion. If you aren't really interested in having religion part of your child's education, then a public school would work just fine for you. Question 3. Are you willing and able to pay for home or private school? Public schools are free. That's what they're supposed to be by law, although I do feel like that can be a little controversial as you normally have to pay registration fees and you sometimes have to buy the school supplies. But in general, the public school provides you with everything you need for your child to learn and oftentimes even has free and reduced lunches for the students if they qualify. So, public school, although it might have a little piece of a little bit of money that you have to put in, it is still free. Homeschool, however, if you want your child to have all these special things like a microscope, let's say, those are expensive. At the public school, they buy those for you and they get to share them with the other students. Here, it's a big, straight up front cost. Are you willing to pay those? Are you going to be able to pay for the curriculum, the books, the training that you potentially might need as a homeschool teacher for your child? And private schools are just expensive in general. You have to normally pay out of pocket to attend those. According to privateschoolreview.com, the average cost or tuition for a private school here in Wisconsin is about $5,000. So are you willing and able to pay that cost for your child to get that education? If you're not, then those are not options for you. Question 4. Have you tried the traditional public school and were unsatisfied? Well then, let's look into the other options. The homeschool is a possibility if you don't agree with what is being taught at the school and you think you can do a better job or you want to look elsewhere. Perfectly fine. But if you said no to the other questions, then probably not going to be a good fit for you. Private schools offer a different learning experience. They are not run or funded by the government, so that they have a lot more leniency in how they do things and what they do, although they aren't regulated by the government, so that might be something that sketches you out. Maybe not. Some private schools are fantastic, but it does make you wonder if they're not meeting the standards that the public schools are meeting. Are they going to be on the same level as the rest of the students coming out of public schools or not? Definitely something to look into. There's lots of different private schools with lots of different ways of how they do things. So they might be very, very successful, but you also should consider maybe they're not. Also, there's that big price that we just talked about in the last question. If you're not willing to pay that, then private school is just not an option for you unless you get scholarships potentially. If traditional public schools don't meet your expectations, there are other public school options that could work for you. There are magnet schools, which are public schools that are still run by the local school district, but they have a specific theme to them. There could be like a performing arts school, they could be a technology school, it could be focused on museums where they focus their learning all around museums. There's lots of different cool themes, and I would suggest picking one that fits with what your child is interested in. So that is definitely an option. Another alternative to a traditional public school would be charter schools. Charter schools are still public schools. They're completely free to go to, except maybe those registration fees and things like that. But they are not run by a traditional school board. They have their own board called the governance board that is in charge of making decisions for the school and making sure that they are upholding the school's mission. They normally have a theme like a magnet school, so maybe they have a STEM theme. Here at VAST, we have an agriculture, science, and technology theme. And they just have a little bit more freedom in how they do things, so they typically have a different discipline system or a different instruction method or a different focus in curriculum than the traditional public school does. So that might just be what your child needs to succeed. So those are definitely options that you could look into. Question 5. What does your child like? At the end of the day, it should be about them and what they're interested in. If they are loving the traditional public school that they are going to, then why change anything? If they're doing well and they're liking it, they love their friends, stick with it. It's working for them. If you want your child to be at home with you and they want to be at home with you, then definitely think about homeschooling them or doing a virtual public school. If your child is really good with technology and is self-motivated and good at time management, is a really good independent learner, and they want to be at home and want to be at a virtual school, then a virtual school might be a great option for them. But virtual schools tend to be tough for students because it requires all those skills for them to be successful. So you could consider it, but definitely think about what your child's learning looks like. How do they learn best? And then if they really like a certain theme, like they love STEM or they love agriculture, like in our case, maybe look into going to a charter school that has that theme that's going to interest them and engage them and hopefully prepare them for what they want to do in their future. And if you want more of a private school education, your child wants more of a private school education, then go for it. But overall, you definitely should think about what your child is interested in and what's going to help them succeed in their education while choosing a school for them. Thank you for tuning in to our VAST Charter School vlog. I hope that these questions will help give you some guidance in choosing the right school for your child.